Alrighty, so here's your vocab for Chapter 5, Section 4, so 5-4. We're going to talk about multiplying and dividing here with fractions, so we need to learn a few things first, or review, I should say. Inverse property of multiplication. If you recall, that inverse property of multiplication is when we take the product of a non-zero number, so that's multiplication, the non-zero number, rational number by the way, and its multiplicative inverse is 1. In other words, that's a lot of words, right? So again, the product of a non-zero rational number and its multiplicative inverse is 1. What that really looks like in real numbers, if I say 2 thirds times 3 halves. Notice I flipped it over. It's kind of what your picture over here is showing, right? That you're flipping it over. So I flipped it over. So 2 thirds times 3 halves. That's if you multiply straight across. 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 over 6 is just the number 1. Likewise, you could also have an example where I say 4 times, now we'll put over 1 technically, you guys remember that, right? 4 times its reciprocal of 1/4 creates 4 over 4, or the number 1 also. Alrighty, there you are. Now, as a reminder, you did this last year, multiplying fractions. You multiply the numerators, multiply the denominators, simplify. Now, cross-simplifying before multiplying is not a bad idea. Mixed numbers must be made improper before you multiply. So we'll give a few examples of that here just a second. So if you need to pause me so you can write all this down, I know it's a lot of words, go ahead and do so. So again, so if I have 2 thirds times, let's say 1/7. 2 times 1 is 2. 3 times 7 is 21. And that can't be reduced. 2/21. Let's say I gave you 4 thirds. You know what? Actually, I'm going to back that one up a little bit. We're going to make it a proper number. 1 1/3 times, let's say 3/8. A couple of things going on here. First, you notice that I have a mixed number, and this is 3/8. It's not going to be reduced, but you're going to find there's going to be a 3 in here. We'll do some cross-canceling first. So as a reminder, make this improper first. And what does that look like? We've practiced this a couple of times already. 1 times 3 is 3, plus the 1 is 4. Let me say that again. The whole number times the denominator, so 1 times 3 is 3, plus the 1 is 4. That becomes 4 thirds, multiplied by 3/8. Now, it is, again, highly recommended when you have numbers that can cross-cancel, like if this was a 3 and a 6, or numbers that have common factors. This 3 and 3 have common factors of 3, so you can put a 1 here and a 1 here. The 4 and the 8 have common factors. You can factor out of 4. The 4 becomes a 1, the 8 becomes a 2, so you cross-canceled there. I always like to go back and circle them so I can keep track of what it is I'm actually going to multiply. So you multiply straight across. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 2 is 2, and we get 1/2. Now let's say you didn't do that, right? Let's say instead you did 4 times 3 to get your 12, and 3 times 8 to get 24. You could still reduce it afterwards to get 1/2. But again, I like that cross-canceling just because it kind of saves some work later on. So, alrighty. So there's that for you, along with examples. Multiplying fractions. Now, dividing fractions is a lot like multiplying fractions. You leave the first fraction alone, okay? Change to multiplication. Find the reciprocal of the second number. In other words, flip it over. So again, find the reciprocal of the second number, flip it over. Multiply like normal. By the way, mixed numbers must be made improper before dividing. So, let's say we're going to have 1/2 divided by 2 thirds. Again, on a basic level, that means we take 1/2, turn it to multiplication, right? So leave it alone, change multiplication. Reciprocal of 2 thirds is 3 halves, so you flip the second number over. Now you just go ahead and multiply. So we go straight across. 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times 2 is 4, so 3/4. All right, that's the end of the vocab for this section. You've got a lesson to go through.